News Radio 700 WLW.
You know, in a world where we all look for common ground, right? That's what everybody is looking for on this planet. Common ground. We might have found some for you. Apparently, we all lie about what we eat. It doesn't matter whether we eat a lot, a little, everybody kind of lies about what they eat. There was a research study done by and this would have to be in the UK, the University of Essex. And researchers took into account the amount of energy a person burns a day with what they throw down their throat in a day. And it found that everyone misreporting how many calories they consumed by an average of 900 calories. It also found some other things, like if you're obese, you burn more or less calories every hour. And the study found bigger bodies need more energy every hour of the day, particularly during physical activity, because moving your weight is a difficult thing to do if you're bigger. So the study, it looked at 221 adults with an average age of 54 and a range of body shapes, and they had to keep a diary. And the diary, you had to talk about what you ate during the day and the caloric intake. Everybody lies. Why do we all lie about what we eat? I mean, and this is lying by about 900 calories. Now, the average adult burns about 2,000 calories a day. You're lying about half of what you need to operate on a daily basis. So why do we do that? I mean, that's a question that dovetails into why do we eat what we eat? And I'm not suggesting for a moment that on this holiday that you put down the burger right now, but I'm just saying, why do we lie about it? Who are we fooling besides ourselves? Standing by is a guy that doesn't fool anybody. Jonathan Bailor is the founder and CEO of the Inc. 500 fastest growing metabolic healing and diabetes treatment company. It is called SANESolutions. And Jonathan has written about it. He's got a New York Times best-selling book, The Calorie Myth, How to Eat More, Exercise Less, Lose Weight, and Live Better. We have had Jonathan on the show many times before. Great to have him back. Jonathan, how are you on this glorious day?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here because I think this speaks more to what humans do more than anything else. We are congenital liars, and apparently we lie about how many burgers we eat in a given day and how much caloric intake we have. Why do you think we lie about that stuff?
The issue with self-reported food studies dates back to essentially the advent of trying to study what people eat. And we're not sure if it's lying or if it's ignorance or if it's a little bit of both. And I don't mean ignorance in a negative way, but we do know definitively that accurately counting the number of calories you're consuming is essentially impossible. And let me give you one example of that. Even if you only ate foods that contained a calorie count on the packaging, that packaging can be plus or minus 10% accurate.
What?
So you could be off by 10% even if you were doing it perfectly.
So when it says like 8 servings per bag and 200 calories per serving, it could be off by 20 calories either side, right? Plus or minus, right?
That's exactly right. And when you look at the fact that the average human being consumes about 1 million calories a year, that's 100,000 calories up or down if you are counting calories, quote unquote, perfectly.
Wow. So it could be inadvertent. It could be that people lie. I mean, people, they fudge the truth when it comes to things like waist size, like shirt size and all that. And again, the only person they're hurting are themselves. But what do you make of larger people or obese people burning more calories in a given day than someone who is within the normal weight range when they go about their normal daily activities, or even in a physical exertion activity? What do you make of that?
I think the most important takeaway from this study and really any other study involving calories is that focusing on calories is not helpful. At best, it's confusing. And the reason for that is calories do not determine your health. They do not determine your happiness. and they do not determine your appearance. Calories are simply a way to measure energy, much like an ounce is a way to measure the amount of liquid you have, but it doesn't tell you anything about the liquid. If I put 8 ounces of gasoline in front of a child and 8 ounces of water in front of a child, I have put 8 ounces in both cases in front of a child, but we certainly wouldn't want them to drink both of them.
No.
What we need to focus on is what we are eating, not the quantity of calories contained in what we're eating.
Yeah, quality as opposed to quantity. And, I mean, regardless of how many calories it takes a human being to get through a day isn't the point. You can find calories in healthy food. If you want to do a complete caloric bomb, go get an Arby's triple decker. You got 1,030 calories in that, but you could also find those 1,030 calories in other things, fruits, vegetables, and whatnot, right?
That's exactly right. And calories aren't bad. If you eat 1,030 calories, that will simply, if your body is working properly, keep you full for a long time, right? We tend to think that eating, for example, a calorically dense breakfast is quote unquote bad. Well, if it's from the right sources, it's not bad at all. It just means it will keep you fuller longer than if you ate a light caloric breakfast.
Yeah. Why do you suppose we're so consumed with calories? Because that's all you see on television. You see commercials for companies. I'm not going to name the company, but companies that can help you lose weight. Just eat this food. You don't have to do anything else. Just eat this food because this food is going to cut down on your caloric intake. It'll make you feel fuller. There's a real, I think, disconnect between pop culture and science. And we tend to move more, I think, as a society towards pop culture when it comes to things like that. Is that human nature in your opinion, or do you think we're being deceived here?
We are absolutely being deceived. If you think this is not a conspiracy theory, this is common sense, right? If I can convince you that the only thing that matters is the amount of calories you consume, and the fewer calories you consume, the better, I can do two things. One, I can sell you less food and charge you more for it because I'm doing something healthy, right? 100-calorie snack packs. I'm going to shrink the serving size and charge you more. Yeah. And I can convince you that you can eat anything, that anything can be part of a healthy, balanced diet as long as it doesn't contain too many calories, which by that logic, cigarettes are a great snack. They're calorie-free.
Or that gallon of gasoline. But
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking at this. If you just break out, if indeed the number is 900 calories, which was the number that most people lied about in this survey. I mean, they break it down. 3 McDonald's cheeseburgers has 900 calories. 5 pints of beer have 900 calories. 300 cherry tomatoes have 900 calories. Well, the tomatoes probably wouldn't be bad for you, but 18 apples, for example, 900 calories. But yeah, we tend to get caught up in the calorie game and not the nutrition game, and we are being deceived by a lot of what we hear and see in terms of commercials. Well, what's the way around it? Because if you go on you know very well, Jonathan, if somebody put a commercial on the air, I've got, eat kale. If you eat kale, we're having a sale on, McDonald's now has kale. My guess is, as you went through the drive-through window, there wouldn't be too many people ordering kale from McDonald's. So what's the way around it, other than just trying to sit down and do a deep dive into what we're eating? Is there a way to figure out what we need as opposed to what we want?
There's two things. One is a shameless plug, and then one is helpful advice. I'm just kidding. They're both helpful advice. One is we did actually film a movie on location at Harvard Medical School with some of the top Harvard medical doctors in the world called Better. And you can see that at bettermovie.com, and it details exactly what you should be eating. It's very entertaining and fun. So that's bettermovie.com. But more practically, look, the key is to eat food and not calories. And you don't need to be perfect. Again, the movie is not called Perfect. It's called Better. So if your grandmother would not recognize what you're eating, don't eat it. And this is very helpful, though, right? Because Grandma, and I'm going to say something controversial right now, Grandma cooked pies, right? Grandma celebrated birthdays. So we have this false dichotomy in our culture where to be healthy, you eat kale and seltzer water, and anything else is unhealthy. Look, we didn't have an obesity epidemic up until the 90s.
Right.
So you could eat stuff that existed prior to the 90s, but just don't eat nonsense 24/7, 365.
Right. And you and I have had this discussion before. You're not the food police. You're saying that you have to just be conscious of what you're eating. But if you go buy a McDonald's and you're hungry and you do it one day out of 40, it's not going to kill you. You just have to be a little more rational as to what's going on the other 39 days. I think that's all you're saying, right?
That's exactly right. Your body is a beautiful and resilient machine, right? Just like you can get a cold and get over it, the key is to keep your immune system healthy. If you can keep yourself generally healthy, holidays and celebrations, totally fine, but it's looking at our daily habits and how we can slightly improve them. Those are the things that add up over time.
I've heard this from other people that if you have to read what's on a label on a food product, it's probably not good for you. Do you buy into that at all?
I do, and I would actually take it one step further and say that if there is a label on it, that's also a yellow flag. I wouldn't say it's a red flag, but when you think about actual food, it doesn't have a label on it. So that's why counting calories, when you really think about it, is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because the concept of a calorie didn't even exist, I mean, let alone labels that contain calorie counts up until recently in real food. If you look at a farmer's market, or if you look at markets in other countries, or if you look at the perimeter of your grocery store where you'll find fruits and vegetables and meat and fish and nuts and seeds and actual food, they don't even have labels.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's an interest. I mean, you just said something that makes so much sense. Just look at the perimeter of if you go into a Kroger here in the next couple of days and see what's in the perimeter of the Kroger. And then it's when you go up and down the aisles is where you probably find foods that are just going to get you into trouble. I'm sure grocery stores don't do anything by happenstance. It may be the reason why they lay them out, because if you just do perimeter shopping, you're basically going to find the freshest food in the grocery store, right?
That's exactly right. And I want to stress again, it's not that the food in the middle of the grocery store has more calories in it. That's the problem. I mean, that thinking is the problem. It's thinking that just by measuring the calories, that gives us this key. And that, again, is the problem, because salmon is found on the perimeter of your grocery store, and it's got quite a few calories compared to the Snackwell's diet cookies found in the middle of your grocery store.
Jonathan Bailor is our guest, founder, CEO of SANESolutions. And we're talking about this study that was done in the UK by the University of Essex, and why people that were in this survey, they were an average age of 54, about 200 of them, and why they misreported the calories they consumed by an average of 900 calories. And we were talking about whether or not it was done purposely or just because they just didn't know any better. By the way, what are you eating today, Jonathan? And tell the truth.
Let's see, what have I eaten so far today? Well, I was up pretty early because I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, so I didn't eat too much for breakfast yet. I do think I'm probably going to have some scrambled eggs. I think we've got some salmon burgers in the freezer that I'll be cooking up. I'm a big fan of nuts and seeds for a snack, and certainly going to try to get some vegetables in there as well.
There you go. Jonathan is a West Coast guy. We appreciate it. It's still not lunchtime out where he is. So the bottom line on all of this is, I think what you're saying is, don't be so consumed by what you're consuming from a calorie standpoint. Be concerned about what you're consuming from a health standpoint. And the fresher is the better. And maybe someday you don't have to worry about, fast food and surveys and who's fat and who's not fat. As a matter of fact, if everybody started doing that, they wouldn't have to break it down between obese and non-obese. Everybody'd be healthy, right? And then these surveys can go away, and we can all go about our lives, right?
That's exactly right. Stop worrying about calories and just start worrying about eating things that are closer to what you would find directly in nature.
I love it. Jonathan Bailor, you have a great day. Stay well. I know you will because you eat well, but we need to hear your voice. You're not the food police. I always say that. Stay well. We'll visit down the road. Thank you.
Thank you.